Is it possible to tell whether a man has mummy issues or not? The answer is yes. Throughout this video, I'm going to cover 5 signs that a man has mummy issues. On one hand, if you are a man watching this, it's going to help you pinpoint the root cause of your mummy issues so that you can heal and let go. And if you are a woman watching, this is going to protect you from involving yourself with emotionally unavailable or damaged men who will seek to use you as a replacement for the bad relationship they had with their mother. Keep your eyes peeled. Now, before I jump into the 5 signs, I'm going to first begin with the definition to refresh you all on what mummy issues actually are. Now, the term mummy issues is commonly associated with the term mama's boy. Okay, and this actually hinders a man's ability to form deep and intimate relationships due to toxic maternal relationship dynamics. And this is something that is becoming more and more prevalent in today's modern age. Due to the dysfunction of broken homes, godless families, emotionally screwed up men and women, more children are raised in single mother households. And unfortunately, lots of those women come with problems that they pass down to their sons, to their daughters. For example, my father has a lot of mummy issues because my grandmother was very, very narcissistic and he was raised by her. Him and my uncle struggled a lot with emotional unavailability, lack of boundaries, and other things that I'm going to cover today. And I've seen the same pattern play out in one of my friends whose father has the same issues with his mother. In fact, even over the last few years, as I've been on YouTube and I've been gathering case studies, some of them I've actually put on my YouTube channel where you can see men who have mummy issues and the mistakes they tend to make, how they bond unhealthily with women, the problems they have. The pattern is always the same. This is tried and tested. So it's really important to assess as a man if you have mummy issues, because if you do, it's always going to be a hindrance and a blocker that will stop you from having a fulfilling relationship with a woman. And you'll always choose women for the wrong reasons. So we need to remove this from your life as soon as possible. So what you need to understand about mummy issues is that it's looked through the same lens as daddy issues. Okay? Mothers are the foundation of attachment. Babies cling to their mothers and they need them for everything: trust, intimacy, love. And obviously, as babies, we have more time to bond with our mothers than with our fathers. It's the first human being we ever form a connection with. Now, as I mentioned just before, we see a lot of people today raised by single mothers. And there's different reasons for this. Now, sometimes she got knocked up because she has a promiscuous lifestyle, chasing after the wrong type of man, having kids out of wedlock. All of this can be done out of irresponsibility or immaturity. In other situations, she could have had a very, very good man in her life, but she betrayed him or pushed him away because she herself had toxic behavior that resulted in divorce, separation. In other cases, mothers are narcissistic, whilst others succumb to substance abuse, mental disorders, mood disorders. And all of this is going to affect their ability to be emotionally present with their children. Because meeting the needs of a child goes beyond giving them food, giving them water, or a roof over their head. It's about giving them the emotional building blocks that they need to grow into a normal, healthy, stable adult so that they can go on and have relationships in a normal functioning way. And this is what you must understand. So when you have a mother that's emotionally unavailable, doesn't show unconditional love, doesn't give any praise, isn't nurturing towards her son, it's going to cause a lot of damage in his psyche and hinder his emotional growth. If he doesn't heal from that, he's going to grow up to have mummy issues. And it's always going to play out in the relationships he has with women. So you must understand the root is always going to be in overprotective, domineering, overbearing mothers, manipulative mothers because they're narcissistic, they're Jezebels, right? They have a lot of ego. Or emotionally abusive mothers. And of course, detached or completely absent mothers. this is what's going to always cause a boy to develop mummy issues in his adult life. And as I mentioned, it always plays out in their romantic relationships. So for the ladies watching, when you meet a man, you always want to ask his relationship, not just with his father, which we can get into in another video, but with his mother. If he says that he harbors resentment towards his mother, doesn't forgive her, he couldn't wait to get away from her, or it's even more serious if he completely denies to talk about her at all, or states that it's none of your business, then this is evidence that there is deep pain that he has not healed from. And if you are a man watching this video and that speaks to you, because that's exactly what you do, then this is a wake-up call. You have mummy issues. Okay? Because when you hold resentment or unforgiveness, you have a strained relationship with your mother, this is because she has her own set of unresolved problems. Whether it's from her own childhood or it's self-made from her own messed up life choices, and this has hindered her from being present, vulnerable, and available to you. And when you look at a healthy bond between a mother and a son, there's an open line of communication. There's mutual respect. And this is how it should actually play out. But when that's not the case, it results in mummy issues. So here are 5 signs that a man has mummy issues. I want to make this very clear. You, as a man, you may display one of these signs or all 5. It varies, but at the very least, there's going to be one. Okay? So let's get right into it. Now, the first sign that a man has mummy issues, and this is an exception. This happens with some men who have mummy issues, not all of them, but it does happen. I've seen many cases like this, is that they have a history or a pattern where they seek out or they fetishize older women. Now, why is this dysfunctional? Why is this abnormal? Let me explain. It's common knowledge that men are more attracted to women that are slightly younger than them by a couple of years, because this is linked to fertility, beauty, youth, submission. And women are more attracted to men that are a couple of years older than them, more associated with wisdom, maturity, having his life together, more capable of leading, protecting, and providing. So healthy age gaps are always going to be between the 1 to 5 year range. When you start getting into the double-digit age gap range, that relationship is going to be more transactional. And it's further evidence that the men and women involved in such a relationship have serious problems that they have not healed from. And when you see, for example, with daddy issues, you see girls going for older men because whether they're gold diggers or what is actually going on? That woman is seeking out an older man to fulfill the role of a father figure to satisfy the inner wound she had from her childhood because she had a bad father. Right? So when guys have mummy issues, it's the same thing. To the exception, you will see men go for an older woman or a woman that's more mature than him. Okay? She's more overbearing. She's more domineering. She's masculine. She's not really feminine. Because these guys have such a damaged or strained relationship with their own mother, they're seeking out older women to mummy them. Okay, they want to be with a partner that matches that criteria based on what their mothers ingrained in them. Okay, so they look for that in a woman. They go for older women. They want a mummy. They don't want a wife or someone they can build a bond with. They want a woman to take care of them and treat them like they're a little kid. And in order to do so, they would need an older woman because that's just the contrast there. So if as a man you ever notice that you've fetishized older women, you find yourself very attracted to older women and you don't understand why, this is evidence that there is something deeper going on, which is your mummy issues. You're looking to be with an older woman to fill the role of the mother that you never had, the mother that you should have had, because you can't let go of the pain. So what you want to do is take the measures into your own hands and have a woman actually fill that. And then you think you can let go, which it's only going to destroy you and emasculate you further. Okay? So this is an exception. Okay? But it does happen. Okay? We know girls with daddy issues go for older men. So when you see a man going for an older woman, there's something strange going on. And the root cause is always going to be found in mummy issues. Because normal, healthy men with a stable hormonal profile, they're very masculine, they have a good relationship with their mother, they want a wife, they want a helpmeet, a girl that's supportive, submissive, feminine, ladylike. They don't want an older woman that's going to be domineering or treat them like it's their mother. That's going to be very strange, and it's going to be a turn-off to a normal, healthy male. This is what I want you to understand. So if you find it attractive to be with an older woman, this is evidence that you have mummy issues. Okay. The second sign that a man has mummy issues is that he does not understand the concept of boundaries. Okay. Now, a clear sign that a guy has mummy issues is that he doesn't just lack personal boundaries, but he will disregard the boundaries of the women he dates, because he's still stuck in his childhood. Whether his mother was abusive, she was neglectful, she was non-existent or absent, he doesn't really have a concept of femininity, of how to interact with a woman healthily, how to treat her, how to respect her, how to honor her. So what happens is he's a boundary pusher. He sees a woman as an extension of himself, as a play toy, as something to emotionally vent to, as a woman he can use, not a woman he can love, right? Because he didn't get love from his mother, so he just doesn't know any better, right? So what will happen is, and for the ladies listening, you'll see that these men kind of push your limits. They push your patience with childish games. They seem very immature because they don't know when enough is enough. Because remember, the mother is the foundation of attachment. Boys are supposed to grow up with a mother, and she's supposed to say when no is no, when yes is yes. And he's supposed to look towards his mother as an example of what to look for in a woman, what to avoid, how to treat a woman, how to respect a woman, right? And obviously from how she interacts with her father. And when that's absent from his life, or it's skewered with dysfunctional toxicity, he doesn't develop any boundaries because the mother's not there to teach him. So he may have emotional outbursts, yelling, name-calling, childlike tantrums. He doesn't know how to manage his anger because the mother was never there to nurture him, calm down her child when he's a little boy. So not only does he not know how to communicate his own feelings, but he can't even really accept or process the emotions of others healthily. It's actually scary to him because he doesn't know any better. So if you've noticed this in your life as a man, you got mummy issues, okay? And this is just indicative that, you're a little kid that's screaming for love and affection in a dysfunctional way. Because think about it. When a baby cries for love, okay, because, it's hungry, it's cold, whatever, the mother's there to give it warmth. It covers the baby, keeps him safe. And if you were a boy, because mummy issues mainly develop age 3 to 5, if during those early years your mother was absent, neglectful, didn't really meet your needs, that's where it's really going to come in. So the baby keeps screaming, the baby keeps crying, there's no boundary. The need was never met. The pressure on the gas pipe is still leaking because the mother was never there to fix it, so to speak, with that analogy. And this is what happens. And this carries out as that boy grows up. He's toxic, he's dysfunctional, he doesn't know how to handle emotions. He doesn't have any boundaries, he doesn't have a healthy regard for other people, especially women. He just doesn't know any better. And if a boy doesn't heal from that, because again, most mummy issues heal on their own, but if a guy doesn't heal from that because he harbors resentment or unforgiveness towards his mother, then he's not going to have any healthy boundaries. For example, my father has mummy issues with what I've mentioned. And I would recall growing up, I would look at the dynamics between my mother and my father. He wouldn't know how to communicate properly. He would have issues with boundaries and stuff like that. You see this with a lot of guys with mummy issues as well, okay? And as a woman, watching this, you may feel guilty at interacting with your boyfriend or your husband, because in some ways he'll behave childish. He's not behaving like a man. So it closes you off emotionally. And even for you men listening, when you have mummy issues, you may feel ashamed at communicating an expectation that you have in your relationship, your wants, your needs, how you want to be treated, because you have no experience in laying down personal boundaries, because your mother never taught you. Okay? So you may communicate or voice your needs unhealthily through arguments, immature mind games, attention-seeking behaviors, because that's what you saw your mother do with your father, for example. Or it's what you learned to do with your own mother to get her attention, because she was messed up, she's doing drugs, she's absent from your life, she's passed out on drugs, and you're just screaming for love and affection, and you have to do it through anger, through emotion, through screaming, through shouting, because normally she wouldn't give it to you. So you do the same thing in a relationship with a woman. You lack boundaries. The third sign that a man has mummy issues is a history of dating emotionally unavailable or abusive women. The self-fulfilling prophecy for men with mummy issues, which is no different than with women who have daddy issues that are unresolved, is that they keep getting involved with partners that have the same negative characteristics as their dysfunctional mother. Because these men are seeking to fix or save damaged women in an attempt to heal and move on from the bad relationship they have with their mum. It's sick and twisted, but this is what men do when they have mummy issues. It's just one of the things that may happen. Now, what I want you to understand is this. If as a man, you have a track record of dating girls that are abusive, they cheat on you, they settle for you, right? They treat you with disrespect. And it's pretty much most or every single woman you have ever been involved with or gotten to know, then the common denominator is you, not the women. Because there's good women in the world and there's bad ones. And if you keep getting bad ones, this is just indicative that like attracts like. Okay? Because normal, healthy, stable men are simply not going to tolerate that level of dysfunction. If a man has normal hormonal profile, healthy self-esteem, high standards for himself, but let's say he lacks knowledge on relationships and he's a young man, maybe his first girlfriend was toxic, maybe his second girlfriend was narcissistic and he didn't know the signs. Usually after those experiences, a normal, healthy man is going to assess his breakups, pinpoint where he went wrong in choosing such a woman, have his aha moment and realize that, that girl had red flags, or that girl was incompatible with him and he didn't pay attention because he was lustful. And after that, he's going to make peace with that, heal, move on, and choose a better woman next time around. That's what normal, healthy, stable men do. But if, as a man, you keep dating women that are messed up, even though you're aware of it, this is because you have unresolved trauma, and it's rooted in the mummy issues that you have. Because normal, stable men do not do that. They are repelled and turned off by women that are messed up. And this makes it very dangerous because you create a pattern of being addicted to uncertainty, fights, shouting, silent treatment, cheating, emotional blackmail, whatever, because you're involved with toxic women. And you seek the same emotional tempo with the women you date, with what you grew up with back in your childhood with your dysfunctional mother. So even for the ladies watching, if you find yourself in a relationship with a man like this, it's just a matter of time before he loses interest in you, pulls away or leaves, because he can't appreciate the qualities of an emotionally stable woman. And you may notice this too as well, when you have mummy issues, that when you meet a girl and she's normal, she's healthy, her words and actions match, right? She's sweet to you, she's loving, she's very caring, very nurturing. You may look at her normal behavior and feel fear. You may feel scared, like maybe she's going to one-up you. It can't be real, she's faking it. Because you've never experienced a woman treat you normally. Because going back to the very first woman you ever interacted with, which was your mother, it gave you such a negative experience that Now it's tainted your mindset. So all women you look at, you think that somehow they're out to get you. So men like this, they kind of repel and push away good women, and they're kind of stuck with bad or abusive women until they let go from who their mother is and heal. If not, the same pattern will repeat. Now, the fourth sign that a man has mummy issues is that he has a fear of abandonment. Similar to how a girl who has daddy issues also fears being alone. You know, those girls tend to be attention seekers. They tend to show off. They tend to be very needy. They tend to seek validation. You have to understand that men who have mummy issues are no different. Okay, these are the guys that they're on social media showing off their cars, showing off their bodies, showing off their assets, right? They've got low very self-esteem. They need external approval from other people, right? They need attention. They need compliments, okay? They fear rejection, getting turned down. The thought of a girl breaking up or leaving you scares you, okay? So you struggle to enjoy your own company. You can't do things by yourself. Why? This brings back memories of when you were a child and your mother would neglect you because she'd go off with your stepdad or whichever guy was coming into the house at that time, or because she was having so many fights with your dad, whatever happens to be, there was no time for your parents to be there for you. And as a kid, when you cry and you need your mum to nurture you, you had no choice but to sit there and deal with those emotions by yourself, which you were not equipped to handle because you were a child. So what happens is now is when you're an adult, you need to always have some type of stimuli to keep you engaged, to make you feel like you're close to someone. Because being alone brings back those memories of abandonment, of how painful it was when you were left alone, when your mother rejected you or neglected you. So guys like this, because of that fear of abandonment, they suffer from many addictions. Alcohol abuse, promiscuity, gambling, video game addiction. They overindulge in music. They become very gluttonous. They overeat. They overtrain at the gym, whatever happens to be. They find different coping mechanisms to fill the void of that nurturing, that care that they lacked from their mother because they haven't healed from it. They're still trying to micromanage it themselves because as a kid, the mother wasn't there for them. And the scary part about this is, as a man, when you have a fear of abandonment, it's also going to drive you to date pretty much any woman in your life. You're going to have no standards. You'll give any girl a chance whether you like her or not because it's just better than being alone. You can't stand breakups. It's soul destroying to you. And guys that have these mummy issues, they're also more prone to cheat, to lie, to line up replacements when their needs are no longer met. Because they're just so afraid of abandonment. They don't want to go through what they went through as a child. So now they go the other way and they become very controlling, very needy, very possessive, very insecure, okay? They have like separation anxiety, okay? Right? All of these trust issues. They feel jealous when there's nothing wrong in their relationship. They're insecure. They're always very suspicious, okay? So, and of course, if you've got mummy issues, you'll notice when you're in a relationship, even if your girl is communicating clearly, she's being sweet to you, it's still not enough. You're hyper fixated on the relationship. Whenever your woman is away from you for just 1 hour, you become very worried or stressed. And that has similarity to when you were a kid and your mother wasn't available for your needs. She was gone. What's she doing? Where's my mum? And all this cortisol, all this adrenaline is running through you. And it's created a cycle that's stuck in your nervous system. All this trauma is locked into your physiology. So this fear of abandonment is pretty much ingrained into your psyche. And it's not just with your friends, your family, your job, with everything in your life, which you will notice if you've got mummy issues. But it will play out even more so in your romantic relationships. Because at the end of the day, you're dealing with a woman, of course. And if you have a bad example of a woman, which was your mother, and you've not let go of that, you're going to be extremely scared to lose a girl when you're with her. Okay? So if you notice that you always have this fear of abandonment, when there's nothing wrong. You can trace it back to that. And finally, the fifth and final sign, gotta save the best till last, that a man has mummy issues is that he himself is emotionally unavailable. For the men watching, this is true for you if you have it. And for the ladies listening, keep your eyes peeled for a man who behaves this way as you're getting to know him. When a man has a lack of emotional closeness with his mother, this translates to an inability for him to become emotionally connected to anyone. Now, it's quite easy to spot for the ladies listening if you don't project your own interest and get carried away with how nice he is or how masculine, how handsome he is. Look at his character, look at his actions. Now, let me paint you a picture, right? During courtship, during the dating stage, when a normal couple gets to know each other, they will actually grow closer as the weeks and months go by. Okay, they'll spend more time together, more texting, more calling. They slowly become a priority in each other's lives, right? If you're a normal, healthy man and you've got a woman that you love and you trust her, you're going to open up more and more. You're going to share things about your life, your past and everything. Okay, and she's going to do the same, right? These are normal signs that things are progressing as they should. Natural emotional attraction is being formed through close unity. It's just the way it is. Now, this is going to be much different if you've got mummy issues. In fact, the more and more time you spend with a woman, the more and more fearful you become. The more and more boundaries you start to overstep, all the things that I mentioned. All of those stresses, all of those worries start to present themselves. Okay? Because what's happening now is, and for the ladies listening, you'll notice strange patterns in the behavior of this man if he's got mummy issues. It's going to give you a gut feeling that there's something wrong. There will be a cycle of him coming and going. He'll be running hot and cold, even though you formed an emotional connection, right? So, for example, maybe you spend a couple of days, a couple of weeks together, and now all of a sudden he just vanishes. Or he makes himself very busy. He doesn't really want to connect on an intimate level. He doesn't share things about himself. He's very cold. You ever seen a guy that's like a cold fish? He's very quiet. His expression's very low in his face. He doesn't want to talk about anything. That's because he's got mummy issues. So when you start to see this, ladies, that a guy's behaving this way, or for the men watching, you know that you do this when you get close to a woman. This is because what's happening is, as his emotions develop for you and he becomes vulnerable, he does not know how to deal with this. Because when he was vulnerable as a child, it didn't go so well with his mother. So what's happening now is, as he starts to feel close to you, his immediate response now to protect himself as a coping mechanism is to distance himself, to process those feelings. Because he doesn't know how to sit there and tell you, wow, you're a sweet girl, I'm grateful to have you in my life. This is amazing to have a woman like you. He's not going to be saying those things. Men who have these mummy issues, they're very fearful when they develop emotions. In other words, it's like switching off the light. Just like that, they'll go silent. Whereas you look at men who are emotionally stable, who did have a good relationship with their mother, they're simply going to be very open with their communication. Hey, hun, I need a week. I'm going to spend some time alone. I'm going to spend a few hours with my friends, whatever. I'll call you later, whatever. So they just communicate healthily because they learned to communicate healthily as a child with their mother. But what happens is, if he didn't learn how to do that, he's going to just come and go. He's going to be very dysfunctional in his ability to communicate his wants or needs to you, which is going to frustrate you. Okay? Because the only exceptions where a man is going to leave a woman without warning is when a woman is nagging him, she's not treating him well, maybe they've had a very big fight or argument and he needs some time to pull back and cool off before he re-engages you in conversation and feels comfortable to talk to you again. But if those things are not happening in a relationship, and for the men listening, you notice that when you get close to a girl, you may not feel anything for her. You know, you're in a relationship, but you feel closed off. Or when she expresses her emotions, you become very scared. this woman's giving you love. You don't know what to do with this because your mother never gave you love. So now you think there's something wrong. And this is what happens. They become very cold. They become very quiet. And if you notice this happens to you as a man, it's because of those mummy issues. Okay? So for the ladies listening, dating an emotionally unavailable man, it's frustrating. And it will lead to one of two things happening. Either this guy is going to run away because he just can't deal with being emotionally open, or you are going to become so annoyed with his inconsistency that he's going to end up pushing you away and you're the one who leaves. Okay? So what I want everybody to understand who's listening is that for the men, this is completely on you. And you are going to push good women away if you remain emotionally unavailable. Because women are intuitive. They want to connect. They want to bond with you. And when they realize that you're not doing this, it's going to close them off. And they're slowly going to fall out of love. And for the ladies, understand that if a man is doing this, it's nothing to do with you. You can't fix or save him. He's messed up. And it's his responsibility to cut ties with his mother and forgive her for who she was. Okay? Because for the guys that have mummy issues, whether your mother neglected, abandoned you, or she was present with you, you had a mum, but she's overbearing, right? And you feel like your mother has to be the most important person to you. You feel like your mother pampered you and you need to do everything she says. You need to people please your mother. That's not a healthy, stable man. And you cannot be in a relationship with a woman where your mother's your priority. That's mummy issues as well. And these guys are emotionally unavailable because they're connected by the hip to their mother. That's unnatural. That's what the Bible says in Genesis 2:24. For this reason a man grows old, leaves his mother and father, cleaves to his wife and becomes one flesh. Ladies, I'm warning you, there are men out there, they're handsome, they're tall, they're successful, they're in good shape. Yeah, they're not with their parents anymore, whatever happens to be. But emotionally, that man has not walked away from his mother. That man still sees mummy as mummy. Whereas a normal man, he looks at his mother, he loves her, he respects her. But when he's married, when he's got a woman in his life, his woman is his priority. His mother's just his mother, not his wife. Okay, so when you get involved with a guy and you notice that his mother's a little bit too involved, she's too overbearing, that's also because there's mummy issues. And she's kind of dictating his emotions. He's still a child. That man's still a boy. He can't say no to his mother. He's not going to put you first. That is a man who's not masculine. That is a man who has mummy issues, and he'll never lead or protect or provide for you. And you're always going to feel uncertain and unsafe about his abilities as a man. So you're not going to be able to be open with him fully anyways. And your relationship will fail. Men with mummy issues, for the ladies listening, are to be avoided at all costs. And men, if you have mummy issues and you want a good woman in your life, you got to get right with God. You got to let go from whatever shit your mum did when you were a kid, and understand that your mother, it may not seem like it, but she did the best she could with what she had. She made certain life choices. She had certain circumstances in her environment from her upbringing that shaped her to be the way she was. And she did the best she could with what she knew. Whether it seems like it or not, that's the way it is. And until you make peace with that and let go, you're going to have resentment towards your mother. You're going to be unforgiving towards your mother. And you're going to have all those issues that's going to play out in your romantic relationships. That's the massive red flag that you are the problem. And until you overcome that, guess what? You're always going to push good women away. Ladies, until a man heals from this, nothing will change. Guys, if you are emotionally unavailable, right, the thought of being open to your girl, the thought of communicating to her, giving her praise scares you, you have wounds that you need to heal from. It's difficult for you to establish an intimate relationship. You can't really trust your woman even though she's good to you, okay? You're very sensitive towards criticism because your mother would always scorn you. And you have a woman that's helping you, your girlfriend. She's, trying to support you or assist you, right? And you take that as criticism. You feel like she's against you when she's not. You're going to push a good woman away simply because you don't know how to communicate healthily, okay? All of these things that come from being emotionally unavailable will ruin your chances with a good girl, okay? If you're in a relationship and you still need to do what mummy says, you're not a man. You can still, if you have a good mother, you can honor her. You can respect your mother, absolutely. But if you're married, If you have a girlfriend and you're building a foundation for marriage, your mother's not your priority anymore. You can love your mum, you can respect your mum, but she's not your wife. And this is what guys do when they have mummy issues. Or they hold on to the image of who the mother was and they don't want to let that go. You know? If you lack communication skills, you're scared of being abandoned, you've got low self-esteem, you need all this validation, you've got all these trust issues when there's nothing wrong, you need to get right with God and you need to forgive your mother. Because when you're emotionally unavailable, that girl is going to be frustrated at the fact that you are showing up to the relationship like a little boy who's lost. And you'll ruin your chances with that woman. So all in all, those are 5 signs that a man has mummy issues. Remember, as I mentioned at the beginning, you may have one of these signs or all 5. It varies. But if you have mummy issues, you'll notice that you have at least one of them. Okay? So pinpoint where you're stuck at, dig out that root, let go. And for you guys that do have mummy issues, phone up your mother, tell her that you forgive her for everything that she did, and let go. Or else you're never going to have a normal, fulfilling relationship with a woman that's going to end in a healthy marriage. Not to mention, if you actually get married and have kids, not only will your relationship be strained with your wife, how could you properly lead your own son? What about your daughter? Are you prepared for that? Of course not. So if you want to mess up your family, keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to be the father and the husband that your future family needs, you can sort this out right now. With that said, hope you'll have a wonderful day. God bless all of you and your families. I'll see you in the next one.